Number 9 from the selections from the Mesnevi. The poor Scenite Arab and his wife. An Arab woman once thus to her husband spake, insisting strongly, heed of these words, notice take. How very poor are we, what hardships have we borne? The whole world lives in pleasures, we're the butt of scorn. We have no bread for condiment, we've grief and cares. Jug, pitcher, we possess not, drink we not but tears. By day are only raiments, scorching solar heat, our bedclothes in the night, the moon rays, pale and sweet. The disk of Luna, we may well imagine bread. Our hands we lift to heaven, keen hunger's pangs we dread. In mendicants feel shame at our dire poverty, our days are dark as night. Through drear adversity, our kindred, as all strangers, sight of us now shun. Dislike the wandering Jew, for fear we should them done. And I would borrow half a handful of lentils. The neighbors wish me dead. Their wrath on me distills. Amongst us Arabs, pride is felt in war and gifts. Among those very Arabs, thou'rt devoid of shifts. What need of war have we? We're wounded, we are slain. The dart of want has pierced us through and through with pain. What need of faults, O sinless one, we're in hell fire. What solace have we, overwhelmed with deep desire? What gifts have we to give? We silent beggars sit. Could we but seize a gnat, its throat we'd straightway slit. If guest should come to us as sure as I'm alive, when he was sunk in sleep to strip him, we would strive. Such grumblings and as follows, going on all day. She made her husband wish her 50 miles away. Unbroken destitutions brought us both to straits. My heart burns for our sorrows. Hope's gleam ne'er waits. How long are we to suffer torture such as this? With hunger's agony, like coals of fire, we hiss. Should any stranger guest come unexpectedly, what shame we'd feel him to receive dejectedly. If any visitor should pass our way this eve, unless we eat his sandals, what food can we give? Hence, 'tis, the wise have said in proverb, rendered free, a guest should never go where he'll not welcome be. Who'd wish to be the guest, confiding of a man? He'll strip thee to the skin bare, gladly if he can. Unhappy in himself, can he thee happy make? He can impart no light. Deep gloom's his only stake. Not feeling gladsome in himself, with others met, he cannot yield to them what he has not as yet. Suppose a man ophthalmic start as oculist, of granite dust alone, or his eye solves, consist. So 'tis with all in times of misery and need. Let no one then come blindly to our house to feed. Hast never seen reality, a famine near? Look well at us, thou'lt see effects of food too dear. Our outward look is black, like dark pretender's heart. This lacks enlightenment, though his exterior's smart. He has no hope of God, nor any good to show. No more than Seth or Adam, he pretend to know. Even Satan, unto him, no trace of self has shown, and yet he claims to be vicar of God's own. Some Gnostic terms he uses as a plagiarist, that he may lead the people as though secretist. A critic soothe as he complains of Bayezid, whereas Yazid himself would blush at his bald creed. Of heavenly bread and table nothing has he known. The barest bone to him, vile dog, God has not thrown. He pompously proclaims, my table have I spread. Istrant's son, God's vicar, here am I indeed. Then welcome, all ye simpletons, come in, from table of my bounty fill yourselves within. For years he dupes them with tomorrow's promise still, the errant arch deceiver, whose tomorrow's nil. A long time is required to sound a human mind, to find out what defects may lurk the mask behind. A buried treasure is there under body's wall, or is it whole a serpent, toad, or scorpion, all? At length when 'tis discovered, impostor is he, his pupil's life is wasted, what use then to see? But on some rare occasion, people of great parts will come to the impostor, profit by his arts. He comes with good intention to the lecture hall, expects a guiding soul, he finds a carcass all, as when in dead of night one does not know the east, to offer one's devotion licit, turning west. Pretenders carry famine in their heart of hearts. We suffer only want of bread for our repasts. Why then, pretender like, should we our want disguise? Why then, for appearance's sake, our soul too bastardize? The woman's husband answered, pray now silence keep. Our life is most part o'er. What's life left us but to weep? The wise man cares not for a little more or less. These both will pass away like torrents, waywardness. A torrent may be clear or muddy, black as ink. It will not last. Why then should we about it think? Within this world, what millions, living creatures all, a life of joy still lead, quite free from let or fall. A dove is always cooing praises to the Lord upon a tree. So long as they might light afford, a nightingale sings hymns, God's name to bless alway. For unto thee he trusts, who hearest us when we pray. A falcon, when he sits upon a royal fist, no longer stoops to carrion, or with to subsist. And so from gnat to elephant, like state we find, they all depend on God, the best feeders kind. All those anxieties that fall on us like darts are but the vapors, tempests of our human hearts. Those cares are like a sickle made to cut us down. This is a fact, though we are slow, the truth to own. Our every suffering here a portion is of death. This part of death then drive away, whilst thou hast breath. If from this part of death thou findest thou canst not run, thou sure whole death will follow, as the light, the sun. If thou canst learn to think this part of death is sweet, thou knowest that God will make its whole thy taste to meet. Our troubles are the heralds of our death to come. Turn not thy face away from herald, as do some. Whatever leads a joyous life finds death severe, and he who's slave to body mars his soul's career. When sheep come home from pasture in the meadows green, the fattest ones are slaughtered soon as they are seen. The night is spent, the morn is come, my bosom friend. When wilt thou bring thy grumbling gossip to an end? Once thou wert young and more content 100-fold, than covetous camest, though thyself art gold. A fruitful vine thou wert, a blights come over thee, thy fruit will never ripe, 'twill shrivel on the tree. Sweet fruit with flavor give, thy inward worth to prove. Thou backwards shouldst not walk, as rope makers all move. Thou art my helpmate fond, and fellow worker all. Of one mind still should be, or their joint work must fall. A pair should ever be conformable in aim, a pair of shoes examine, a pair of boots the same. If one boot a pair be too small for the foot, the pair is useless, vain the other size to moot. One boot is small, the other hats too large is found. Hast ever known a lion consort with a hound? 2 packs upon a camel, equipoise require. The one must not be half, the other bale entire. I choose the road that leads straight to contentment's door. Why takest thou the path to sin and misery's floor? The woman's husband, suffering, but resigned still, thus spake unto his wife to calm her rest of will. The woman raised a shout, O man of simple mind, I will no longer listen to thy words, though kind. Talk not to me of claims, pretensions, and such stuff. I care not one pin's point for pride and flimsy stuff. Why preach so loud of sentiment and honor's call? Just look at our condition, shame upon thee fall. Pride certainly is wrong, much worse than beggar's camp. The day is cold and snowy, all our clothing's damp. What nonsense and frivolity thy weak pate doles, and all the while thy tent like cobwebs full of holes. Or didst thou learn contentment's rule to make thy pride? Hast thy contentment taught thee shame from men to hide? The prophet has declared, content a treasure is. But what knowest thou of treasure? Sufferings, all thy bliss. Contentment's but a water reservoir that leaks. Do hold thy tongue, thou plague, and cease these foolish freaks. Thou namest me thy helpmate, lower, pray, thy tone. I'm fellow unto justice, mate to knavery, none. Since thou equality, lords and princes claimest, why suck the blood of locusts, that by chance thou mainest? Thou fightest for a bone with dogs in this debate. How shall I not complain with hunger at our gate? Don't look at me contemptuously, and all askance, lest I tell all my mind thy baseness to enhance. Thou holdest thyself much wiser than poor soul like me. Hast ever found me wanting sense to make thee see? Think not to fall upon me, both like unawares. O thou at whose great wisdom woman's folly stares, the wisdom thou so holdest superior to all. Not wisdom is, but serpents, scorpions, deadly gall. A foe may God prove ever to thy driveling guile. So mayest thou turn out weaker than weak woman's wile. Thou art both snake and snake catcher in one combined, a serpent charming serpent, Arab's pride enshrined. Did crows but realize their ugliness supreme, as white as snow, they'd change through rage and errant shame. A charmer sings a charm against a snake his foe. The snake charms him in turn, hence follows boundless woe. Were not his trap a charm prepared by the snake? Would he become the victim of some small mistake? The charmer first is caught in toils of greed and lust, and sees not 'tis the snake has charmed him, bound him fast. The snake addresses him, O charmer, see, now look, thy own work thou perceivest, my wiles hast mistook. Thou charmest in God's name to make me thy bond slave, and lead me captive, make me sport for fool and knave. The name of God it is that holds me fast enchained. That name thou usest as my trap, art not soft-brained. That name will one day vengeance on thee for me take. In fear of that dread name, I soul and body quake. He'll either take thy life with poison fang of mine, or like me unto prison, he will thee consign. Thus spake the woman bitterly unto her spouse. Whole volumes will not hold the words that she let loose. He answered her, my wife, art woman, art thou mad? My poverty's my pride, for Reproach me not when sad. Possessions, well, are but a cap, the scalp to hide. The scald heads are bald pates, alone in caps confide. Whoever's hair has grown in curls or tresses full is always proud when his cap away can pull. A man of God resembles precious sight of sense of sight. Our eyes should not be bandaged, or we can't see right. The dealer who exposes slaves free from defects strips off the useless cloak that hides all ill effects. Were they not sound, would he the sheltering mantle strip? Nay, contrary, with clothing, heed their vices clip, and say as an excuse, he's timid, he's shamefaced, and shrinks from being here, bare of vestments placed. A man of wealth may full of sundry vices be. His riches are his mantle, none his failing see. Men all are covetous, their greed, 'tis blinds them all. One touch of fellow feelings binds them as one ball. But should a poor man say, it's precious more than gold, his saying is not heeded by the world so cold. The functions of a dervish far transcend thy ken. The aim of mendicancy's folly to most men. True dervishes retire away from wealth and power. Their bread the Lord majestic furnishes each hour. Our God is just, when had it happened that the just have acted with injustice towards the poor who trust. To one all blessings God give as favors, luxuries, another one at will, with coals of fire he tries. Who doubts that God thus acts with uncontrolled will? His portion be the fire of tribulation still. My poverty's my pride is not an empty word. Therein are hid 1,000 blessings well assured. In anger, imprecations thou hast cast on me. I am a humble suitor, snake catcher, thou'dst see. If e'er a snake I catch, I still extract its fangs, that harm may never follow when its head one bangs. Those fangs are enemies to every serpent's life. When I extract them then, I make him free from strife. I never will submit the spell of lust and greed. Covetousness I've conquered, its maw I'll not feed. Thank God that greed is not among my sins, at least. Contentment fills my heart, a true perpetual feast. Thou lookest at the crown of a pear tree full of fruit. Come down from that idea, no good will it boot. In raising up thyself, thou giddy hast become. 'Tis not the house that reels, thy brain grown troublesome. Once Abu Jahl saw Ahmed, spitefully he said, thou ugly portraiture from Banu Hashim bred. Says Ahmed, true thou'st spoken, most gracious man. Thy words are worthy credit, but who cavil can? Then Abu Bakr saw him, said he was a son. A perfect beauty, east-west, everywhere he'd run. To him too Ahmed answered, thou hast spoken true, but a bright man set free from all the 9 spheres' clue. The company assembled, marveled at these words, and asked, how can 2 contraries be what accords? Said Ahmed then, a mirror am I, polished bright. Both Turk and Hindu see me reflections light. See in me reflections light. O wife, if thou hast thought me covetous, come forth from such idea too preposterous. That which thou takest for greed is heaven's mercy sure. And how can greed and mercy both at once allure? Make trial of true poverty, but for 1 day or 2. Thou'lt find therein true riches, with contentment too. Be patient with our poverty and banish grief, for poverty's crown bestowed by our great chief. Put off sour looks and see how many thousand souls through sweet contentment are as happy as the fowls. See other thousands also drinking dregs of grief. It permeates their being as sugar scents rose leaf. Alas, that what's the treasure valued by my heart, I love to pour my soul forth in thy ears apart. A kind of milk is speech. Its teat the soul or gland. To make it freely flow requires a loving hand. If but the hearer listen, hang upon his lips, the speaker, though a corpse, grows eloquent, ne'er trips. Attentive audiences still confer the powers to stutterers and stammerers to speak for hours. If strangers should break in upon my privacy, my womenkind retire from mere delicacy. But if my visitor be confident and kin, they come forth freely, play about with gladsome din. Whatever best they know of work or play or jest, they do and say for show before a welcome guest. What use of sound of harp, of bass, or trebled notes? For deaf or senseless ear that on no music dotes. Our God has made the earth, the sky, and all between. His light, his fire, upon that stage is seen. The Lord without a purpose gave not musk it sent. For odor 'twas, not for disease nostrils meant. The earth he stretched forth and fixed as man's abode. The heavens he upreared to be by angels' road. The inferior creature man, at strife with all on high, he bids for every place he sees. For all he'll sigh. Dear wife, chaste, modest matron, art thou well prepared into the tomb to sink, ere thy doomed hours declared? Were I to fill the earth with pearls of countless price, thy daily bread thee falling could thee entice, and cease from all contention, strive not against the Lord. Our separation from thee will be my last word. What taste have I for strife, contention, or annoy? When even in peacemakings I've no longer joy. Be quiet, hold thy peace, or by thy Lord of life, I'll quit this tent forever, thou not be my wife. Much better to walk barefoot than with shoe too small. The toil of travel's sweeter than strife in one's wall. She knew thence he was angered, will had of his own. She burst in tears, was ever woman tearless known. Quoth she, I'd never thought from thee such words to hear. Far different had I hoped, knew not I'd ought to fear. She made herself most servile, thing a small account. Remarked, thy humble servant am I, so me count. My soul and body, all I have's at thy command. So arbiter art thou, dispose, I'll not withstand. If I of poverty impatiently complained, not for myself, for thee, was our sad lot disdained. In all afflictions, thou our remedy hast been. I grieve to see me want, my anguish thence grows keen. Dear darling spouse, I for thee was all my deep dismay. My sighs and moans for thee came into bitter play. I call my God to witness in my heart and mind. I'm ready life to lay down, if thou'rt so inclined. Oh, that thy heart, the life with which my soul's endued, could trace aright the channel by my thoughts pursued. If merely through suspicion thou art vexed with me, my life I value not, breathe, bodies not, just see. I scorn all gold and silver, count them less than dirt. If they to thee bring anguish, no, I'm no such flirt. Thine is the only picture painted on my heart, and canst thou talk of leaving me from home, depart. Discard me if thou wilt, thou hast the right and power. O thou for whose divorce excuse I make each hour, recall to mind the time when I thy idol was, and thou priest-like didst worship me. Alas, alas, my heart I cultivated just as thou desirest. Thou thoughtest 'twas fond, I knew thou it with love inspiredst. Like potterbs o'er the fire, thou addest what thou wouldst. Sharp vinegar or honey, what thou wishest, thou couldst. If blasphemy I've uttered, lo, I faith profess. My life is in thy hands, but be not pitiless. I wot not thou wouldst prove imperious like a king, So like a donkey turned loose, before thee took my fling. Thy pardon now I crave, let me know joy again. Contention I forswear, repentance I maintain. With sword and winding sheet, I fall at my Lord's feet. Should he decapitate me, death to me will be sweet. Thou'st talked of separation, bitter, worse than gall. Do it thou will with me, that hideous word recall. In thee for me, a pleader, ever will be found. If I be mute, thou'lt still hear intercession's sound. My potent advocate is in thyself, thy heart. Relying upon that, I dared to sin with art. Have mercy. Silly, thy grace thyself, not Lord. Have mercy slyly. See thy grace, thyself not Lord. To me far sweeter than a honeycomb full stored. And thus pleaded she, in coaxing, wheatling terms, with skill. Her tears were rolled down in streams, fast coursing at her will. Her weeping and her sighs were past endurance felt, whose features, tearless, in his heart of steel could melt. That shower precursor was of lightning's vivid gleam, whose flash lit in his breast a fire with pity's beam. She of whose beauty was a slave, her husband still, a double spell exerted through entreaty's thrill. One whose least coolness sets men's heart in flames, by turning supplicant, twofold witchery claims. If he whose pride at times pain causes to thy mind, to supplication stoop, thou'lt small resistance find. He whose fierce tyranny our bleeding hearts most grieves, by tendering excuses us excuseless leaves, is goodly made to man, a text from God's own word, as truth made manifest is by man ever heard. God too therein decreed that he with her may dwell, whence Adam's love for Eve survived lost Eden's dell. A hero man may be, a Hercules to grieve, but slave to woman's will is he without reprieve. He to whose words the universe has all bowed down was he who sang, Chimera, speak to me, life's crown. Up fire and water, fire is quelled through waters wet. Still water boils through fire when in a cauldron set. The cauldron like a veil, those lovers keeps apart. And water's influence no longer cools fire's heart. To outward show as water, thou mayest rule thy wife. In stern reality, thou cleavest to her, thy life. This attribute, humanity, must own its force. Man quails to sensual love, which springs from failing's source. The prophet hath declared that woman over sage, despotic power, wields, and over men of age, that fools the upper hand o'er women still maintain, because they're harsh, gross, senseless, careless to cause pain. No gentleness, no pity, faith, or ruth have they, in that a bestial nature over them holds its sway. Humanity 'tis claims for self-love charity, while lust and rage are marks of bestiality. Fair woman is a ray from out the sun of truth, not loved a creator, not created. Forsooth, the husband now contrition felt for what he'd said, as sinner at death's door repents of evil deed. Though I have assailed the life of my life's life, I've plagued and broke the heart of my dear darling wife. When God decrees an ill, man's judgment falls asleep, and at first Cassidy knows not which way to leap. The doom of ill struck home, and straight feels deep regret. Propriety outraged, he turns to mourn and fret. Addressing then his wife, he said, my shame is great. I've acted as a heathen, I'm ready to entreat. Against thee a trespass, but thee pardon to me grant. Upon my vengeance, wreck not, root not up the plant, An infidel, however, old, if he confides his sin, by and makes amends, God's sheepfold hopes and takes him in. Thy heart is full of pity, goodness, kindness, grace, all being non-entities in love with thy sweet face. True faith, in blasphemy, adores thy majesty. With that elixir, all to gold turns instantly. In Moses and in Pharaoh, parables we see. It would seem that Moses' faith was right, Pharaoh's sin fee. By day would Moses pray unto the Lord of hosts. At midnight Pharaoh too bewailed his impious boasts, and said, Thou Lord, this yoke upon my neck did slay, or not for yoke imposed, the egotist who to play. 'Tis thou enlightened Moses' mind of thy free grace, and hence hast left me blindly groping on my face. The countenance of Moses thou'st lit up like day, my heart like moon eclipsed, thou'st darkened with dismay. My star was never brighter than the full-faced moon. When darkened with eclipse, it surely sets too soon. True kings and princes sound my praises in their routes. My star eclipsed the rebel raise their clamorous shouts. With cleavers, marrow bones, tongs, pokers, hideous alarm, they seek to fright some monster, really shame all charm. Alas for Pharaoh, with those fearful yells and noise. Alas, his Lord Supreme, drowned in that discord's voice. Both I and Moses' servants are of thee, our king. Like woodman's axe on tree, thy wrath on me takes swing. Some boughs thou loppest to plant, they quickly grow again. Some others, but as firewood burn, are molder on the flame. What can the bough to cope with axe's severing edge? Can bough resist, return the blow, as blacksmith's sledge? I call on thy omnipotence, thy axe withhold. Thy mercy manifest, these wrongs set right, behold. Then to himself did Pharaoh think, a wondrous thing. All night I've prayed, good Lord, the heaven's almighty King. In secret I'm humility, a very worm, but when I Moses meet, how greatly change my form. Base coin, if tenfold gilded o'er with finest gold, upon the fire when cast, its baseness all behold. Are not my heart and body wholly in his hand? Why brain me, flame me thus, so cunning, soft, and bland? Commandest thou me to flourish, as cornfield I'm green? Decreest thou me to wither? Straight I'm sallow seen. One day I'm bright as full moon, next as eclipse dark. But is not this, of all God's works, the constant mark? Be, and it is, a bat that drives man on his laws of entity, non-entity. That course is cause. The uncolored being, stained with colors various tinge, one Moses against another, certain to impinge. If the unconditioned state that he was shall return, with Moses Pharaoh then may live in peace, not burn. Does doubt invade thy bosom from this subtle theme? Think, when was coloredness exempt from doubt extreme? The wonder is how color rose from hueless source, how color huelessness in ceaseless warfare course. The origin of oil is water, this is known. Then why are oil and water foes, as may be shown? From water, oils created by mysterious power. Against water, why does oil rise up and war each hour? The springs, the rose springs from a thorn, thorns from the rose. In open warfare are these two. Why? What suppose? Or is this seeming warfare all a cunning sham? Like donkey dealers, wordy strife, some dupe to flam. 'Tis neither this nor that, 'tis puzzle for the wise, the treasures to be sought, the ruin for our eyes, that which thou deemest the treasure's not but vanity. By deeming it a treasure, makest thou to flee. Thy deemings and thy thoughts build up a pile too fair. For treasure never lurks where buildings crown the air. To edify means being orpher to sow, non-entity is shamed with non-entity is shamed with entities false show. Non-entity till it calls for aid, it is the void. For restitution acts encroachments would avoid. Think not 'tis thou wouldst flee non-entities will grip. Non-entity encroachment dreads from thy short trip. Apparently it thee invites unto its breast, but really it repels, club-like is its protest. Know then, dear friend, that Pharaoh's shrink from Moses's call was really like a wrong shoe on one foot, that's all. Opinions are agreed amongst philosophic folk. The sky's an eggshell, it lies, this globe as yoke. A questioner once asked, how rests this little ball within the circumambient spheres without a fall? 'Tis like a lamp hung up to a vault of high-pitched dome. It never sinks below, nor soars above its home. To him one wise man answered, by attraction's force, on all sides equal poised, it's kept from all divorce, just as an iron bell would centrally be hung. If lodestone vault there were to hold, it freely swung. A cavalier objected, how should heaven's pure vault, attracting to itself this vile black ball exalt? Say rather it repels with equal force all round. The earth thus rests amidst air's tides that hold it bound. Thus it is by repulsion from the souls of saints. The pharaohs of each age are fixed in error's taints. Repelled then they are from this world and the next. In neither have they portion, shunned are they, and vexed. From God's anointed ones dost thou draw back in back in heart? Know thy existence grieves them, frets them, makes them smart. They're like the amber then. They're like the amber then. When chaffed, it shows its power. The mote of thy existence, quick, thou forced to cower. If they conceal that power, exert it not for thee. All thy docility will turn to pride, thou'lt see. Even as the bestial quality in a man a found, unto its human yokemate, slave and serf is bound. This human element too in saints' hands, my friend, is pliant like the bestial. To their wish they'll bend. By true faith Ahmed called the world his docile sons. To table spread say servants mine, thus God's text runs. Thy mind's a camel driver, thou the camel still, urged by decree, command, it drives thee as it will. God's saints are minds of minds, men's minds beneath their sway, are camels too, and thus the lengthening series play. Look unto them, then, if the truth thou'st fully know. A pilot is the life of thousands here below. But what are pilots? Camel drivers what? Still seek thou one of whose eye looks on the sun and feels not weak. The world's plunged, nailed, in thickest pitchy dark of night. For day to break, it wants the rise of God's sunlight. Behold a sun for thee in mote contained and hid, a rampant lion clad in pelt of gentlest kid. Behold a hidden sea beneath a blade of grass. Beware, tread not therein. Doubt, thou sinkest, alas. Doubt and incertitude, when felt in pious breast, are mercies from on high, a leader gives them rest. A prophet's soul and solitary in the world, soul, but within him bears 1,000 systems furled, as though by magic the vast universe he makes around himself revolve. Who smallest compass takes, the fool saw him alone, thence judged him some weak thing. Weak can he ever be who's upheld by the king. Those fools thought he's a man, he's really nothing more. Alas for fools, they're void of common sense in store. The prophet's last camel was, in form, a beast. His people, her hamstrung, 'twas ignorance at least. They cut her off from water, Drink they her refused. Ungrateful, such return for meat, and drink it use. God's camel drank the water, brought his stew by mist. God's water they held back from God. Anopolist, less Celeste camel, as of saint fleshly form, became an ambush sinners, ruin thence with storm upon that sinning race. But dreadful judgment fell. God's camel under drink. The text is us to tell. God's vengeance as pursuer sought front that vile crew. The price of her shed blood, a country's whole space through. The soul to Celeste like, his camel is the flesh. The soul communes with God, the flesh pines in want's mesh. Good Celeste's soul was safe from effort of their whim. His camel felt the blow, they dared not aim at him. No hurt could fall on Celeste's soul, that priceless gem. Such holy emanation was not sport for them. The soul unto the flesh is joined by God's decree, that it might be afflicted, trials made to see. Who hurts a body hurts, also its soul, no doubt. The lifeblood in that vase from being's fount was brought. God enters in relation with material form, that he may be asylum to each earthborn worm. No man can inlet find to injure soul of saint. An oyster shell is crushed, its pearl escapes a taint. Then serve the camel, that is list to sin and flesh, and with his righteous soul outserve one Lord afresh. When Salah saw the evil deed aid foully wrought, in 3 days' time a judgment from his God he sought. 3 days from hence, said he, affliction will befall, of which 3 signs precursors shall be, you'll see all. The color of your faces shall be changed to view, complexions various shall be seen in each of you. Upon the first day, saffron's hue shall be their tinge, the second, scarlet red each countenance shall fringe, and on the third, as black as coal, shall be each face, upon which ensuing God's wrath shall then take place. If sign of me you ask for truth of what I say, observe the path that camel's foal shall take today, then strive to catch it. If you can, by chance, succeed, good. If not, hope is gone. From bow, from bow, the arrows breed. No one of them a camel's foal could overtake. It fled among the hills, was lost to sight, heartache. And so the soul, when once its prison bars are burst, unto the Lord of grace, its winged flight takes first. The prophet then, the threatened judgment, now must storm. All hopes gone by, dead as that camel's lifeless form. So if by coaxing you, her foal, can win back here, in calm tranquility, from whence it's fled through fear, with its return of confidence, you may be saved, but otherwise despair and gnash your teeth, depraved. His threat they heard dejected were at its import. Their looks sank downcast, sad anxieties resort. The first day came, they saw each visage jaundiced over, and thence in fell dismay thy laments uttered sore. Their scarlet skins the second day told plainer still. Time for repentance was but short, and hope was nil. The blackened faces on the third day clearly told the prophet's threat was strictly true. Their blood ran cold. Thus being brought to quit their menaces and scowls, upon their knees, hams, breasts, they crouched like roasting fowls. This cringing posture has that abject, trembling crew, in holy writ, inspired, dubbed crouching, and 'tis true. Kneel thou at times, and by instructors thou art taught, and when thou'rt warned that crouchings with objection fraught, in hopeless expectation, God's blow to ensue. The countryside entire within their homes withdrew. The prophet Saleh left his cell to view the town, enveloped in smoke and blaze. He saw it drown. Low moaning noise he heard proceed from its remain, sigh as it were and sobs. He, sires, sought in vain. Those sighs were fitful cracklings of their burning bones, those sobs the hissings of their blood and clots on stones. On hearing these sad sounds, the prophet burst in tears. Responsive to these moans, he groaned, no listening ears. The dead he then addressed, O people, chid in vain. How often against you, to the Lord I've wept with pain. The Lord me answered, patience have with me their misdeeds. To them give counsel still, not long will last those needs. Remark I made, with such misdeeds will counsel count, as milk kind counsel flows from love's unsullied fount. The untold wrongs you heaped upon my patient head had curdled milk of counsel in my bosom's stead. The Lord replied, a grace I'll now on thee bestow. I'll soothe the wounds inflicted by their rancor's bow. With that, God made my heart as tranquil as of yore, swept clean away the cobwebs of your paltry score. Again, I proffered counsel to you, sage and safe, in parable self-couched, with words that might not chafe. Once more that milk flowed, mixed with honey, from my lips. The dulcet tones were tempting, not like stinging whips. Alas, within your ears, they all to venom turned, because like poisonous plants, your nature goodness spurned. Why do I weep? You've burnt the substance of all grief. Like bone and throat, ye obstinate, you've choked relief. Ought any to lament when grief is laid in beer? Man justly tears his hair, his head, if broke by spear. With that reproachfully upon himself he turned, and cried those fellows were not worth the tears they spurned. Recite not wrongfully, O master of address, the text, how will I grieve our crew that none should bless. Still in his eyes and heart, or briny tears he found, a pity really motiveless in him tan ground. As summer rain he wept, through feeling ill at ease, a summer rain quite cloudless from compassion's seas. His conscience smote him sore. Why weepest thou, man of sense? Are they tears fit objects, men of violence? What motive for thy tears? Say, grievest thou for their acts? Mournest thou the extinction of their merciless, vile pacts? Or is it perchance their hearts corrupt, gangrened, doubts weep? On their empoisoned tongues, so adder-like, doubts keep those tails and fangs, as it are objects of thy grief? Their scorpion claws and sting that thou regrettest in chief. Contentious foul mockery, rude violence, thank God instead, who's checked their boastful insolence. Their hands were evil, evil were their feet, their eyes, their peace, their friendship, as their wrath were all unwise. From role of meek obedience, customs handed down, they'd swerve to follow mere devices of their own. They wished not for a teacher, donkeys obstinate, their own ideas alone they'd stoop to cultivate. God therefore sent his servants, smoke and fire to wit, from heaven the miscreants to chase the dire hell pit. Behold, the damned and blessed, thus in one scene conjoined. Between them is a great gulf fixed by none are climbed. Those sons of fire and light together seemed enmixed, but barrier impassable between them was fixed. The mine's rich golden ore in soil embedded lies, but really separated far as eagle flies. Like pearls and jet beads in one row of necklace ranged, a motley company, like inns chance guests off changed, are like an estuary, half soft, sweet to drink. Most palatable water, clear, bright as moons twink. The other half, succiness, wormwood and gall, foul black as ink and fetid, shocks the senses all. These dash together, now this, now that, uppermost, their waves a turmoil make, as though by tempest lost, that show of fierce collisions made by matter's form. In truth, the spirit tis that compacts make our storm, when gentle waves in friendship's reign roll gracefully, contention quits each breast, all goes on merrily, with rough war's hideous billows, mark the altered scent, all love is straight renounced, dire hates to supervene. Mark the altered scene, all love is straight renounced, dire hates to supervene. Affection coaxes rancor to subside appeased, because its origins in reason fixed, soon pleased, while raging anger stirs up thoughts of bitter strife. How long can man be tranquil when the stakes is life? Our outward eye discerns, not pure from tainted hearts, future tease small lattice, up the curtain parts, the eye of true sagacity, distinct can see, its other eye, 'tis fails, is ne'er from error free. How many seeming pleasures, fair as sugar sweet, have poison lurking in them, death to all they meet. Men of discernment know them surely by mere smell, and others find them out, though late, when tasted fell. At taste enough ejected are they, swallowed not, although the fiend may urge with eat while hot. Again, some others find in throat they firmly stick, and others yet are vexed with intestinal prick. So others, by sharp purgings, find they've done amiss, indulgent of the palate's changed, pangs their bliss. Again, there are some suffer after months or years, and others pay the penalty within the tomb with tears. Ain should there chance a respite granted in the grave, at resurrection's front, disclosure not will save. Each plant, each honeyed morsel in this lower sphere, a term has fixed him to effect, who tastes the cheer. What ages of submission to sun's influence our ruby can acquire, bright tinge, bright effulgence. The solid crest is ready in a month or two. The rose requires some years before it shows its hue. To this end has the Lord, whose name be ever blessed, in holy writ declared, appointed term, we've ceased. We've cessed. Hast thou this heard? Read, mark, and learn with diligence. Life's water is it. Hast thou drunk? Health spring from thee thence. Those words thou mayst consider life's fount. If thou list, their sense it is important. Thou shouldst not have missed. One other theme, my friend, fix firmly in thy mind. 'Tis patient as thy soul, as subtle thou it find. At times as venomous as adder's fatal fang. At times as helpful as the food from heaven that sprang. Now lethal, now again remedial by God's will. At one time blasphemy, and holy raptures thrill. Thus will it now be fatal to a human soul, and then again a remedy for all that's foul. The juice of unripe grapes is sour, as is well known, but when the fruit has ripened, sweet and fragrant grown, in a wine jar when fermented, noxious and unclean. When vinegar again, most wholesome, it is seen. If saint, a poison swallow, wholesome it will prove. It's a figure of speech. But if disciple taste it, death will him remove. Lord, grant unto me, was the prayer of Solomon, the power and kingdom solely, not Abaddon. His favor grant, not unto other after me, which reads like envy, such, however, it cannot be, but not in heart construction, that must disagree upon those words so read, to other after me. He saw 1,000 dangers in the sway conferred, saw that earth's empire is a snare to be abhorred, a danger to one's life, one's faith, one's inner self. Such trial has no equal on the whole world's shelf. Ain Solomon sagacity did much require to shield him from mistakes in all his vast empire. The wondrous power he wielded could alone suffice to quell rebellion's perils, rising in trice. So when he rested from due ordering his wide realm, he felt that other kings misrule might overwhelm. Then interceded he this rule, this much prized flower, vouchsafed to none, save with the self-same power to whom thou mayest grant upon these very terms. He Solomon, he is myself, my sway confirms. Cannot come after me, he'll reign with me indeed, with me and in me, free from rivals, dreaded need. Thus to expound appeared a duty paramount. Return we and our tale of man and wife recount. A sequel to that incident between man and wife is looked for by the man of him who's watched their life. The incident of man and wife recounted here. Of each man's soul and flesh the parable is clear. The wife the flesh is, the man the soul. He's wisdom too, their emblems also of all good and evil true. The two of need existing in this earthly home, by day and night at war, are always quarrelsome. The wife requires her various household garniture, her bed and board, her comfort and her furniture. The flesh, like woman, to be gratified still seeks, submissive sometimes, oft would play ambitious freaks. The soul has no idea itself for such instinct, but seeks to muse upon its love for God distinct. Existence is the secret of their constant war. The form in which 'tis waged, thou art now about to hear, had psychic indication proved sufficient sign, material creation been a useless coin. It is love for God, thy thought, aim, wish, design, intent. To forms of worship, fasting, thou wilt yield assent. The gifts and little presents interchanged by friends. Are not their love's pure essence signs? They are not ends. Mere outward witnesses that simply testify the affections, feelings, these the heart to sanctify. For all men know that kindness bestowed by hand are proofs of sympathy. Mind can this comprehend. A witness may speak falsely, also may speak truth. Is sometimes drunk with wine, sometimes is urged by ruth. When wine is drunk, intoxications supervene, its vapors rise into the head, erst so serene. Behold yon hypocrite, he fasts, he worships, prays, that he a man of God may seem, he's not, mere ways. Results of outward actions are of outward kind, the signs of what is inward working on the mind. Grant unto us, O Lord, discernment to perceive what sign is true, which meant on mortals to deceive. Suppose not that the senses with discernment flawed. Discernment is the inner gracious gift of God. Effect not being visible, we look to cause. We know that kindred moves to friendship by fixed laws, but him who judges by the light of God's own truth, effect and cause no longer hold a slave, forsooth. When love for God is lighted in the human heart, it fiercely burns, it suffers not, effects dull smart. No sign of love does it require to seek for love is love's own sign, given from the highest sphere. Details there are far more to make this theme complete. If wished for, each can find them, they're not obsolete. Sense must be gathered from material outward form. Some sense is patent, some is hard to find, to form. The indications feeble, tree and water see, how different apparently their natures be. Let's leave now all these words, cause, nature, sign, and turn we to our Arab and his wife benign. The husband said, I've now abandoned all dispute. All rule is in thy hands, thy power is absolute. Whatever thou ordain, submissive, thou'lt me find. Its good or bad results shall not weigh on my mind. I'm non-existent save that by thee I must move. A lover, therefore I am deaf and blind through love. His wife him answered, is all this in kindness meant? Or dost thou seek by craft my plans to circumvent? He swore by God, who knows the secrets of each heart, who hath created Adam free from treacherous art, who in 3 cubits stature unto him dispensed the mysteries of all decrees, all souls condensed. Whatever is to be to all eternity, to Adam taught with every name of deity, so that the very angels wearied under him, as he them taught, but ever gained by each maxim. The revelations Adam made to them were vast, had never been disclosed before from first to last. The compass spacious of his all-enclosing mind, far wider was the heaven of heavens, a grasp could find. The prophet hath declared, God made him clearly know, I'm not contained, not held by aught above, below. On earth and heaven, above the heavens, I'm not held. This know then, thou also my friend, as though beheld. But wonderful believer's heart can me contain. If me thou seek, there look for me with might and name. His words were seek within my servants, there thou meet the paradise of my aspect, thou most discreet, the heaven of heavens, with all its wondrous wide extent, at sight of Adam's glory, into tremors went, the marvelous expanse of heaven's stretch extreme. But what is matter all, when spirit is the theme? Each angel made remark, until this very hour, I had a certain knowledge of the wide earth's bower. Much duty I performed upon its soil down there. Surprise I felt, not small attachment so to bear. For what was my attachment to that ball of clay? I that am molded from the glorious light of day. What was my strong affection? I'm light, darkness, earth. Can light and darkness mingle? Live in jocund mirth? Oh, Adam, now it's clear. My love was mere instinct, and that the earth material gave for thee succinct. The earthly body here was wove out of its clay. Thy spirit pure created was beyond the realm of day. The honor which we spirits have received through thee, before all worlds had sparkled by divine decree. When we were on earth, we inattentive were, and little reeked the treasure trusted to its care. What orders were received to quit the earth and mount, we felt regret to change, knew not on what account. We thought of reasons for the shift, and questions made. O Lord, who then shall take our place when we're thus made? Wilt thou exchange our praise and service here below from mere lip homage from a worm thee will not know? An answer from the Lord benign did we receive. What you allege is somewhat many might deceive. Each word upon your tongues is surely out of place, as lisping talk of son desire without preface. Your rash objections would deserve to be chastised, but that I have decreed, that mercy's higher prized. Behold, O angels, since you've made confusion strange, in you henceforth I've placed a sense of doubt and change. Since you demur and I refrain from chastisement. None can gainsay my mercy, none may raise comment. 100 mothers, fathers meet not my decree. Each soul that's born a zero is compared to me. Their love is but the froth, my love the sea of love. Froth comes and goes, ocean none remove. More I may say, for in this earthly oyster shell, there is not but froth of froth, a froth, a froth to tell. The Lord that spake, the Lord that sea of purity, he spake not by conjecture, through his own entity. What I here state is said in love's humility. The Lord is he to whom I fly, sole deity. If thou wouldst put to test what I have here set forth, first prove thy test, make truly sure its double's worth, its treble's worth. Cloak not thy secret thoughts, so may my thoughts be known. Propose whatever thou list, within my power to shown. Thy heart conceal not, I'll lay bare my heart of hearts. Accept all of acceptance worthy, my mind starts, that I may do whatever lies within my power. Do thou observe my heart's condition in its bower. The wife observed, a very son of good is risen, through whom a gladsome world's enlarged from want's sad prison. Adjurant of the all-merciful, Caliph of God, fair Baghdad's city prides itself to kiss his rod. If unto him thou have recourse, a prince thou be, why then to misery cleave, such as we hourly see. Companionship with fortune's minions brings good luck, whereas an elixir like their power, my dear is stuck. Ahmed's its steam raised Abu Bakr such a height, for once confirming Ahmed's word, faithful, he's hyped. Man demurred, how can I gain access at court? Without an introduction, how find sure passport? Connection we must seek, or else invent excuse. No artisan can work without his tools, the deuce. Thus, Majnun, when he heard by chance from passing white, his Layla was an invalid, which caused him to fright, exclaimed, alas, without excuse I cannot go, and if I visit not the sick one, I'm all woe. Would that I were a physician with his healing art, then I could see my Layla, none would dare me thwart. And now he cries, I have it, I have a right to go, no bashfulness shall keep me from her portico. Had bats but eyes with which to see and find their way, they'd fly about, disport themselves, jocund by day. The wife replied, the Caliph's public pageant is, for all who introduction lack, their griefs are his. To be and have a grief is introduction sure, thus poverty and loneliness work their own cure. He still objected, shall I fall in love with want, that I may urge my need as matter for some grant? Ain't then a witness credible I should require? Test my indigence when almoners inquire. Point out for me a witness, not mere words and wiles, so that the sovereign's favor may be won and smiles. For otherwise a mere pretext without a proof, and justice's court would fail and bring reproof. A witness credible is, then, sine qua non. For suitors plea to stand, proof it must rest upon. His wife rejoined, the witness thou requirest to bring must by some shrewd contrivance from thy prospects spring. Rainwater's all we have in store within our hut, estate, possession, wealth, lie in our water butt. A little pot of water shalt thou bear with thee, as offering to the Caliph, as present from me. And say, no other wealth on earth do I possess. To Arabs of the desert, water's happiness. The Caliph's treasury full of gems and gold, a pot of water such as this, his coffers do not hold. What is this pot? It is an emblem of our lives. The water in it, matchless virtue of our wives. Accept then, gracious prince, this little pot from me, and out of all God's gifts repay its value free. That pot's 5 lips are emblems of our senses sure. Keep them all clean, so may thy honor too be pure. The pot will then relation keep with ocean's wave, and I perchance advantage from that ocean have. If clean, thou carry it before the sovereign's eyes, he may be pleased therewith by it from mere surprise. The pot will then of water never lacking be. My little water pot shall suffice thee and me. Close tight its lips, and bear it full from our supply. A holy text, 'tis says, from lust close every eye. His beard, his mustache, both will swell with joy at this. For Prince Supreme like him, my offering's not amiss. Thou woman didst not know that there in Baghdad's midst, a Tigris flowed. The Tigris flowed with water, sweet as honey. It's a very ocean, is it, rapid in its course, with boats and ships, with fishers, hooks, both fine and coarse. Go then, good man, the Caliph thee his state shall show. Thou compare the text beneath which rivers flow. This likewise are our intellects, our thoughts, our sense, a drop compared with God's boundless omniscience. The husband now chimed in. Yes, plug the pot's mouth tight. Tis hit. The husband now chimed in. Yes, plug the pot's mouth tight. Thou'st hit the very offering, useful, good, and right. Sewed up carefully in case of belt for fold. Our Caliph's breathest water shall it be so cold. No other waters like it in this world of ours. It's heaven's pure ambrosia, still from vernal showers. Ported snow, none but waters, hard and bitter all, whence various maladies with blindness them befall. The bird that lives the bird where salt marsh noisome airs exhales, knows not of joys pure water gives and spicy gales. So thou, good man, who dwellest midst the desert's waste, hadst never seen Tigris, known Euphrates' taste, as he is again not yet from worldly cares set free, is ignorant of ecstasy, of rapture's glee, or having heard thereof as tales from men of old, knows them as names alone in storybooks oft told, child's ABC as taught to every lisping elf, but whose real meaning is hidden from the teacher's self. Our Arab man now takes that water pot in charge. By day and night he travels, load not over large. Anxiety fast holds him, lest the pot should break. Most watchfully he guards it from misfortune's freak. His wife spends all her days in prayers on his behalf. Her worship, or she adds, Lord, shield my better half. Secure our pot of water from all thievish hands. Send it may prove a pearl in sea of Baghdad's lands. My husband true is shrewd, and know what he's about. But pearls of enemies we trow in every route. What is a pearl? A drop from fount of life sent down, a drop from all existence, whence all substance known. Those prayers reward this garden of our sighs and tears. His cares requital, watchfulness, and constant fears. Their pot reach Baghdad safe from robbers' grip, secure from shock of stone, from chance, a fall or slip. A city there he sees with every blessing filled, where craving mortals ply each art as they are skilled. Each moment here or there, some extra lucky white. His object gains receives from court, but glads his sight. To Muslimeen unbelievers, equal grace is doled, like rain and sunshine, not so paradise, we're told. One set of men he sees arrayed in honor's robes, another set endure through hope and fear, sharp probes. As gentle or as simple, prince or worm, aspire. All are alive as though last trump's notes them inspire. The worldly in apparel, sumptuous to behold, the godly all immersed in transports clearly told. The hopeless have become as though their hopes were fair. The hopeful show enjoyment of fruition's share. A voice proclaimed, come forward, all ye sons of want. Beneficence seeks beggars. As for gifts, they pant. Beneficence hunts up for beggars and for need. As beauty seeks her mirror with a special greed, a petty face is charming in its mirror seen. Beneficence gleams lovely through want's chilly sheen. God hath enjoined in holy writ by forename's glare. Muhammad, chide not thou too much at beggar's prayer. A beggar is a mirror wherein bounty shines. Fill not that mirror then with breath of anger's wines. The beggar 'tis shows forth what charity achieves. A charitable man for this those wants relieves. A beggar then's a mirror of the almighty grace. And whoso with the Lord therein sees his Lord's face. He that hath love for other than the Lord of all is dead at heart, not living, shadow on a wall, or adopts God's poverty without false show, secures the prize of God's rich pleasure here below. Who puts on sham of poverty deserves no bread. Bones are not given to effigies of dogs, they're dead. His want craves pelf, 'tis not the love of God he'd seek. Lay not thy bounty at the feet of one too sleek. A land shark is a mendicant for pelf's sake. He's fish in form, he will not to the water take. Domestic fowl is he, not eagle of free air. With lot he sips of wine, God's waters his despair. He loves his God, if but his God will grant him wealth. But nothing cares for God's mere grace, for spirit's health. Should he conceive the idea of love for God alone, God's essence still deny, God's attributes disown. Man's fancy is a creature, born with mortal lot. God was not born, his scripture says, nor was begot. The man in love with self, and with his fancies freak, can never be a lover who to God will seek. Her fancies lover true, and free from crafty guile. His fancies, tropes, had led him to the truth erewhile. That dictum would require a commentary full, but fear withholds me, prejudice will have its pull. Old prejudice, quite purblind to the truth I see, 100 phantoms conjures up to frighten me. Not every man has heard aright the still small voice. Not every bird's a fig pecker, that sweets rejoice. How then, a bird that's dead, turned putrid long ago, a man of prejudice, all sightless, eyeless so. A painted fish cares not for water, or for land, soaked to a blackamoor is one, our tar in hand. Shouldst thou depict a portrait overwhelmed with grief? Would grief or joy be felt, though shown in strong relief? The picture would look sorrowful, no sorrow feel. Our smiling happiness without gay laughter's peal, the joy or grief depicted by a pencil's art is not but simulated, knows, nor thrill nor smart. Lugubrious countenances are for our behoof, that we may be reminded not to court reproof, and beaming visages are not without their use, that they recall us from mere form to sense occluse. The various effigies we see in this bathhouse, disguised in draperies or dolls, blindfolds to chouse, to choose. Yeah. Blindfolds to chouse, so long as thou'rt outside, not else but clothes thou'lt see, undress thyself, come in and see the nude, the free. There's no admission granted to a bath while dressed, but clothes the body this, the soul leave all unguessed. Our Arab man from far off in desert sandy waste has reached at length the walls of Baghdad, home of taste. The guards, the officers on duty at the gate, received him with politeness, kindness delicate. Without the question asked his case, they'd understand. Their charge was to show kindness first, ere ask for food. So they addressed him thus: Ho, thou good Arab prince, whence comest thou? How fares it straight thy wish and thence? He answered, Prince, I am, if you to me be kind. But if you me contemn, I'm not in my own mind. Your aspects indicate your men of wealth and rank. Your speech and smiles betoken breeding noble frank. Mere sight of your kind features, salve it is to eyes. Your looks alone enrich, golden your voices lies. Each one of you expression is of God's own grace, in Caliph's bosom nurtured, favored with high place. That you in turn dispense the elixir of support, and brighten longing eyes by words of kind import. I'm a stranger, poor, come from the desert sands, in hopes some favor to obtain from sovereign hands. The rumor of his goodness fills the wilderness, each atom in its wastes blooms thence in joyfulness. In search of wealth have I approached his capital. Now I'm arrived, I burn with pleasures optical, e'en as the last in search of bread at baker's shop, struck with his prentice beauty, swooned a lifeless drop, or like the saunterer for air in royal park, who lost his heart to one he met, gay, joyous as a lark, are like the desert merchant drawing from a well. What he thought water was entranced by Joseph's spell. Again, as Moses hasted for a coal of fire and found the burning bush that led him to empire, our Jesus, who escaped his foes with one fleet bound, and found himself and landed where the sun goes round. An ear of corn it was that baited Adam's trap, that thence himself became the source of mankind's sap. The falcon stoops to earth, enticed by luring fate. He there meets man's good teaching, soars to princely state. A child is sent to school to teach him learning's prize. In hope of toys and treats, he studies till he's wise. On leaving school, he sits in seat of law or power. He paid his school pence then. He's now lord of the hour. So Abbas sallied forth to war with fierce intent to put Muhammad down, Islam to circumvent, defender of the faith till death he then became. Caliphate was destined in his line to fame. So am I come in hopes that this court to advance? Though at its gate as yet I feel I've every chance. In quest of bread am I, an offering water bring. The hope of bread sets wide heaven's portals at one swing. 'Twas bread that drove out Adam from his paradise. 'Tis bread will gain me entrance where my hopes take rise. From bread, from water, both as angels, far I stroll, and following the spheres around this center roll. Without an object none will toil on earth, you see, save true and godly lovers, they're from motives free. The infinite's lovers, finite's worshippers are not, who seek finite, lose the infinite, as we wot. When finite with the finite falls in love perforce, his loved one soon returns to her infinite source. A beard that puts itself into another's grasp, and lathers smothered emblem of a weak mind's grasp. He's not his own lord, cannot guide his own affairs. He does but what he's told, or he's bid repairs. With sin, with woman, choose at least one that is free. With straw and steel, let pearls and jewels be thy fee. A slave obeys a master, he has himself no will. The scent is all the roses, thorns show no such skill. A slave may not attain to which that he may form. His toil is vain, his trouble profitless, poor worm. Shall hunter snare a shadow? Where were then his food? A shadow is not a substance, can do no one no good. Can do no one good. A foolish hunter seized the shadow of a bird. The fowl on tree, securely perched, not 1 foot stirred, but wondering thought, what is the stupid fool about? Demented sure his little wit he's let ooze out. But if thou thinkest finites of the infinite boon, but if thou thinkest finites of the infinite born, and sayest for love of rose, do honor to the thorn, consider finite into infinites not joined, are what need of the prophets. They've not scripture coined. The prophets have been sent to link the two in one. If they're not two, but one, what have the prophets done? But let that be, the inquiry has no useful end. The day is waning. Let us to our tale attend. The Arab now his little pot of water showed, as seed to earth, he it on Caliph's court bestowed, and said, present my offering at the sovereign's feet. The beggars save his king from want, it surely meet. Beggar save his king from want. The water's fresh, the little jar, green glazed and new, filled from a pool replenished by the rain and dew. On hearing this, the guards were laughing on their sleeves. but still as precious, took the jar, light court reeves. The caliph's kindly nature, active will informed, to kindness had each member of his court performed. For as the sovereign is, so will his subjects be. The azure vault of heaven makes green the earth, you see. A king's reservoir, his servants are his mains, through whom his bounty flows to swell his subjects' veins. The stream if flowing from a tank all sweet and pure, each main distributes bounty, courtesy be sure. But should the reservoir prove foul and noxious, then the mains can flow with naught but venom, like a fen. The mains can only what they get convey around. Remember this, we're treading now on solid ground. A sovereign's goodness is an unembodied soul that permeates the clay of human frame, its goal. It is the mind of the all-informing, well-derived, that brings the body in the discipline or hived. Love is wanton, restless, reckless of control. It drives the man to madness, passion does extol. But goodness is a stream as sweet as a font of life. Its pebbles are all pearls, all jewels, beauteous, rife. Whichever be the science makes a teacher framed, his scholars' minds with that will surely be inflamed. A jurist's pupils study principles of law, if but their mental principles be free from flaw. A lawyer's pretense over subtle cases pores. The principles with him are most unwelcome bores. A syntax teacher rears a host of grammar's sons, with whom his syntax passes for the son of sons. A teacher who inculcates abnegation's creed surrounds himself with pupils free from lust and greed. But at the hour of death, of science's long roll, art of poverty, what most behooves man's soul. A syntax teacher once was mounted in a boat, who to the skipper turned as soon as ever afloat, and asked, "Hast studied syntax?" "No, indeed," quoth he. The teacher then, "Thy life's half wasted, dost thou see?" The skipper felt heartbroken at this pert remark, but for the moment held his peace. Wise man's bulwark. The winds rose, the bark was sorely tempest tossed. The skipper then addressed the teacher, sickness crossed. "Knowest thou the swimmer's art, good friend?" With speedy reply, "Nay," said the teacher, "that's an art the schools decry." The skipper now remarked, "Thy whole life's gone to waste, the ship must go to pieces. Water salt thou taste, with syncope, not syntax, now we'll have to deal. The syncope from water comes nor hurt nor real. The sea bears on its surface bodies of the dead, but living men it drowns, them sinks as though of lead. So soon as thou be dead to every human art, to thee eternity its secrets will impart. Thou hitherto hast deemed us mortals donkeys all, but now thyself, as donkey on ice, must have a fall. Although thou be the very Plato of the age, thou'st still to learn that time The world is but a page. The tale about the syntax teacher we've tacked on. Show the grammar the solution turns upon. All syntax, grammar, jurisprudence, law, and art. Thou find, my friend, of knowledge is but a small part. Our learning is the Arab's water pot. In cup of God's wisdom, we've an emblem God. We bring our pot of water to great Tigris' stream. If we ourselves, not donkeys call, us donkeys deem, the Arab of our tale excusable was. Troth, he knew not of a Tigris, where the Arab doth. Had he, as we, known Tigris stream and all its store, this pot had never traveled to its shore. He had become aware of what a Tigris means. Arrived at Baghdad, he'd pot to fragments, sent. But Caliph, when he saw that pot and heard that tale, the vase had filled with golden sequins like a veil. Our Arab thus, to free from poverty's rude grasp, a robe of honor too, and presents for his clasp, he ordered. Then the whole unto the guards were sent with kindliest injunctions, fruit of good intent, that all unto that Arab man be safely given, whose journey home by Tigris' arrowy stream be driven. By land he came, he traveled all the way on foot. But Tigris stream may bear him back a shorter route. Our Arab in a boat was placed at river's side. The stream he saw, admired, bowed low, lost all his pride, exclaiming wondrous goodness of the sovereign will, the acceptance of my water pot, more wondrous still. How could that sea of wealth my drop deign to accept, and largely thus to recompense the trifle kept? Know now, my friend, this world's one mighty water pot, with wisdom and with beauty teeming, as all wot. One drop, however, 'tis from ocean of his grace, whose fullness cannot be confined in any place. That treasure latent was, through fullness it burst forth, more glorious than heavens became thenceforth the earth. The latent treasure pouring out its riches great, earth made king-like, clothed with more than regal state. One little branch canal from the ocean of God's grace thus overwhelms this mighty water pot of space. They who see God are ever wrapped in ecstasy, and raptured hold that water pot, mere fallacy. O thou envy of whom is to that pot a stone, though fractured by the shock, the pot yields sounder tone. The pot is cracked but still, its water is not split. The cracks, the very source through which its sounder built. The jars, each single particles, in dance and reverie, though undemands for wisdom, this seems foolery. The pot, the world, all it contains, are lost to view. Consider well this fact, God knows, it's simply true. If thou canst grasp this meaning, thou art like falcon strong. Beat then the pinions of thy thoughts, be hawk ere long. Thoughts' pinions are mired in thee, and heavy move, because thou feedest on clay. Clay's bread to thee I'll prove. As flesh, bread is but clay, trust not thereon for strength. Art thou remain clay-like within the earth at length? Dost hunger? What art thou, then but a dog? Fierce, ill-affected, raging, lusts, thy vitals clog. And when with food thou'rt filled, polluted straight becomest, thou losest strength and sense mere stock, thou sleep welcomest. So being dog-like art a stock, senseless, impure, how canst thou progress, make in path of virtue sure? Whatever 'tis thou huntest, dog thou art, in sooth. Feed not then thus the dog of lust's voracious tooth. When dogs are satisfied, obedience they forswear. To follow up the game, they one and all forbear. His wont it was, dispose the herb of our tale, to travel till he'd reached the caliph's courtly vale. We've shown the bounty of that sovereign merciful, shed on the Arab's wretchedness most plentiful. Whate'er a lover says, the sentiment of love shines through his words, if but thoughts towards his mistress rove. Discourses he on law, love furnishes the theme. Throughout his laboring periods, loves the enthymeme. Should blasphemy rise to his lips, of faith it smacks. Doubt when by him expressed, shows confidence, his knacks. The spume that rises from the sea of his pure heart partakes the nature of its source, truth's counterpart. We must esteem such spume as foam of mountain rill, upbraiding from a lip beloved is worship still. Attention we pay not to harsh words issuing thence. The features we adore, divest them of offense. The strange, however difficult, such utterances, they all seem true. The stranger they appear, to sense, they lend more cue. If sugar we should cast in mold to look like bread, then eat it, we the sugar taste, forms of no stead. To true believer, golden idol light upon, will he for worship set it up, anon and on? Nay, to the fire, how quickly it in wrath go sign, and strip it of the form that makes its sins foul sign. The gold abstracted from the idol's form is pure. That form it is corrupts, can men to sin allure. The gold's an essence fixed, produced by nature's God. The idol stamp is transitory, soon downtrod. For one flea the flames thy bed wouldst never give, for one mosquito's hum not wish to cease to live. If form entrapped thou be, idolater thou art. Eschew mere form, attend to essence as thy part. Art bound on pilgrimage, seek other pilgrims out, be they from Hind to Tatari or Hadramount. Peer not into their features, nor look at their skins. Inquire their thoughts, their hearts, if these be free of sins. A Negro findest thou, one with thee in faith and creed, him deem a wight, thy brother, is he in thy need. A tale is told, its ups and downs are manifold. Like lovers' thoughts, its wandering, unconnected, bold. Commencement, it has none, eternity's its sign, still less conclusion, so eternity's design. Or rather, it's like water, every drop so rich. Commencement is an end, yet shows not which is which. But God forbid, our story's not a fable, see? Its narratives, a point concerns both me and thee. A Gnostic in possession of his wits and sense, repeats not what is past, he bids the present tense. The Arab, his poor picture, Caliph all observe, ourselves are, he shall swerve, whom God shall cause to swerve. Our Arab knows the mind, his wife, our lusts and greed. These two are tenebras, the binds, the torch they need. Now here whence he's arisen, the ground of their dispute, the infinite finites holds a various attribute. Parts finite, not parts infinite of the infinite. Like scent of rose, part infinite of definite. The verdur's beauty, infinite is as a part. The cooing of the doves, an infinite in logic art. But go we not too far afield for sorts and kinds. Our poor disciples ne'er will slake their thirsting minds. Dost doubt, art racked with difficulties to access? Have patience, patience is the key of all success. Be absent, let not thy crowning thoughts run wild. Thoughts lions are, and antelopes, mind's forest, child. The prime of remedies is abstinence, we know, and scratching irritates the itch, as leeches show. Of treatment medical, the base is abstinence. Therefore be abstinent, show strength of mind and sense. Accept my counsel, lend an ear as I advise. In golden earrings, counsel's pearls shall be thy prize. Be thou as slave to this, my cunning goldsmith art. I'll teach thee how to soar beyond the stars' bright chart. Know first of all creation's minds are manifold, as are its forms from alpha to omega told. From this variety, disorder seems to rise, though in true sense, to unity the series hotlies. In one sense, they're discordant, another in accord. And now is folly, now is wisdom, pass a word. The day of judgment will to each assign its place. All men of wisdom yearn to see that day of grace. He who, as blackamoor, is steeped in sin's dark dye, in that dread day shall gulp dishonor's foulest lie. The wretch whose countenance beams not bright as the sun shall strive in vain behind the densest veil to run. If like some thorns his stem display no single rose, that springtide will prove fatal to his safe repose. But he that blooms from head to foot with righteous deeds, with joy shall welcome spring's awakening of those meads. The useless thorn desires the nipping wintry blast, to lay all low and simplify the flowery vast, so that all beauty cloaked, all squalor hid the same, all glorious hues, all hideous sights be rendered tame. The leaves fall to such thorn more graceful, more grateful is than spring. The ruby and the flint are one in tithesman's ring. True that the gardener's eye in winter knows the thorn, but what is in one's eyes? Scrutiny. To general scorn. The vulgar pride, the vulgar public is as 'twere when witless, white, each star's the clipping of the moon, and it spawns sight. Not so great men of wisdom, radiant with froth, they shout with joy good tidings, spring breaks into growth. Unless the flowers blossom on the fertile trees, how can the fruit be gathered? Honey store the bees. The flowers blow and fade, the fruits begin to swell. So when our bodies die, our souls in glory dwell. The fruit's reality, the flower is but a sign. The flower's the harbinger, the fruit, true design. The flower blown and past, the fruit then comes in sight. The first must perish ere the other can see light. Unless a loaf he broke, no nutriment it yields, until the grapes are crushed, no cup of wine man wields. So drugs, to prove a solace to the sufferer's ache, together must be blended, rolled in one smooth cake. And of course, we've talked about gender, we talked about subspecies, the different types of human. Not really going into race, it wasn't that specific, but it's not about reincarnation or shifting of identities based on the physical form. It's that, one's beyond that, that the believer is closer to the other believer than the family. Of course, their family has rights, but Al-Quran 20, verse 97 makes the wandering Jew summary, who produces the golden calf to shun everyone, saying, touch me not. Now, Islam doesn't have this, it's like the Jews, like the Christian, it's not some emphasis on like everything bad is either Jewish or Christian or something. That's not really what's going on with that. And there really was no Judaism at that point, so this just that doesn't make sense, is it? I mean, he was one of the Israelite tribes, the actual Israelite tribes, not these white people that claim that, but I mean, nothing wrong with white. I'm just saying, if you're not brown skin and you don't have black woolly hair, you're not a Semite, at least not racially. Well, you're not a Semite, Now, if you speak Arabic, you're an Arab, or or English, you're English, or whatever. But the other more common way, I think. Vicar of God is one of the Caliph's titles. This pretender must have been some particular adversary of the poets. The satire is bitter. Bayezid of Bastan in Persia, an early Gnostic saint, died in 874. Well, it wasn't the last thing, Al-Hijra 261, wasn't the last one talking about, I was talking about people that you think are something and it turns out they're not something else. So in the previous poem, it was about being Muslim or, of the spiritual community. And the other one, and this one talk about the politician? Or anyways, something previous to this set of comments, right? Yazid, second Caliph of Damascus, persecutor of Hussein, son of the fourth Caliph Ali. So Yazid's really gets a bad rap because obviously he didn't do the right thing in that regard. The original naturally mentions the Qibla, the prayer direction of Islam, not the East, as used in Christian churches, not Jerusalem, not the Great Pyramid, not any of these other things, but But the Qibla of each nation is more ordained, right, than just facing east or west or some place on earth. My poverty is my pride is a saying traditionally attributed to Muhammad. Maybe that's a mistranslation because humans weren't supposed to be proud. So what's the word? Al-Quran, Surah 3, Ayat 12 mentions several things made goodly to man. Quran 7, 189 relates the creation of a helpmate for Adam. Muhammad's referred to from Homera, see the note in number 8. It's attached 69. Yet Europe still pretends to believe that Islam has denied the possession of a soul by woman. Yeah, there's a lot of things that is claimed. And honestly, but at this time, women didn't have the right to vote. You know, if they're saying they had the right to vote at 13 in the Islamic world, if they've hit puberty, you know, women can vote, not girls, regardless of the age of the girl. But and with forced marriages too, forced marriages were allowed. Forced and coerced marriages were allowed in America. So Surah 79, Ayat 24. So Pharaoh is there said to have styled himself. Al-Quran, Surah 2, 3, and so on. Not Easterns only have a superstition about treasures hidden in ruins. Well, sometimes there is. So it's kind of a silly thing to say. It's not. But Al-Quran, Surah 22, 9. Man has a triple nature, vegetative, bestial, and human. Quran, Surah 39, 854. Quran, Surah 7, 142, and so on. Quran, Surah 34, 42. Quran 7, 75. 11, 65 to 70, 26, 142 to 158. Saleh was sent to the tribe of Thamud, troglodytes who dwell in the valleys about halfway between Medina and the Gulf of Aqaba. Oh, I forget at the moment what troglodytes mean, but that doesn't sound right. Because you hear that in a derogatory sense, and I don't mean it that way. Quran Surah 91, 13, 7, Ayat 76 and 89, 11, 70 and 97, 29, 36, Surah 7, 8, 91, Surah 55, Ayat 20, Surah 6, Ayat 2 and 60, Surah 38, Ayat 34, and a couple things that aren't really derived from the Quran, and you know, but they could be thought of that way, right? Quran, Surah 24, Ayat 30, Quran, Surah 2, 23. Rich Muslimin everywhere break their fast in Ramadan with water from the well of Zamzam in Mecca if possible. You know, there's long been a sale of, you know, just a little bit of it available other places, but a pearl is believed to be a special dewdrop caught by a special oyster and thence brought to perfection by a special providence. See Sadi's ode at the end of the translator's preface. There's a Yazidi myth that talks about the pearl, great price, you could say, but Quran, Surah 93, Ayat 1 and 10, and 92, Ayat 3, the world being referenced. The belief is that Jesus was not crucified, but was caught up to the fourth heaven, that of the Son, where he will live. Well, that of the Son's, again, an interpretation further of a saying that was written down in one of the later centuries, but where he will live until he comes again in glory. The belief that Adam plucked an ear of corn, the forbidden fruit in paradise, Abbas, Muhammad's uncle, ancestor of the Abbasi Khalifa, Quran 51:8-9 is referenced. Von Hammer, in his History of the Ottoman Empire, so entirely misunderstood this beautiful Arabian proverb. Es sabru miftahu faraj. As to read Farj, pudendum for faraj, success, and cloaked his blunder by the remark, too pungent for literal translation. And